Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Yountville Town Council's Yountville Finance Authority special meeting, which will be followed by the Yountville Town Council's special meeting in just a few minutes. But welcome to everyone that is either online or watching remotely. I'll call the Finance Authority meeting to order, and I will now read some protocol information about our virtual remote meeting. This special meeting of the Town Council is being pursuant to the Government Code Section 54953B related to teleconferencing of meetings. In addition, and pursuant to the Governor's proclamation of a state emergency and executive orders where certain sections of the Brown Act relating to teleconferencing meetings has been waived. The town manager is present in his office. I am here present in the council chambers. Vice Mayor Dorman and council members Moeller, Dornbecker, and Durham, along with staff, are participating remotely by video and audio in conformance with the governor's executive order. We have posted in multiple locations how the public can participate either prior to these meetings by email and other contact to the staff, as well as submitting comments prior to our meeting starting in just a couple minutes. First, I'd like to confirm that all members of the Town Council acting as the Yountville Finance Authority are present in the video gallery. I see them all. I'd like to now ask each member to unmute one at a time to respond in order called to the following questions. First, and I'll ask for an answer to both questions. Are you able to hear the proceedings? And also, do you have a copy of the Yountville Finance Authority agenda for this meeting? And Town Clerk, if you'd please call that roll.
I could not hear Michelle.
Yeah, she is about to get the, Michelle, if you'd like me to call the names, I can do that. All right, I'll do that starting with Vice Mayor Dorman. Are you able to hear? And you have a copy of the Finance Authority agenda?
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Moeller?
Yes to both.
Councilmember Dornbecker?
Yes to both.
And Councilmember Durham?
Yes to both.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that all Yountville Finance Authority members have indicated they're able to hear each other. Next, in general, the public, members of the public have been able to provide public comment via publiccomment@yville.com email. Before we proceed with the agenda, I would like to tell our viewers that any vote taken during this teleconference portion of the meeting will be taken by a roll call vote by the town clerk, as long as her audio is working. And if it isn't, I will do it.
It's working. I unmuted.
Okay, there we go. In addition, new for this Finance Authority meeting, public hearing and administrative regular agenda items will have representatives potentially that are not staff, and they will be providing presentations as they would during a typical in-person council meeting held in our council chambers, and they will be called upon at the appropriate times to speak on their specific agenda item. With that, I will go ahead and ask for an official roll call of the Yountville Finance Authority. Michelle?
Thank you, Mayor. Member Dornbecker.
Here.
Member Durham.
Here.
Member Moeller.
Here.
Vice Chair Dorman. Here. Chair Dunbar.
Here. Thank you. If you're able to stand and find the nearest American flag, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you're attached to your audio, don't hurt your ears. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up, adoption of the agenda for the Yountville Finance Authority. Is there a motion? Oh, yeah, we'll take a motion in a second.
So
So
moved.
moved.
I think I heard Authority Director Moeller with the motion and seconded by Director Dornbecker. Roll call vote, please, Michelle.
Thank you. Member Moeller,
Here.
Member Dornbecker,
Here.
Member Durham.
Yes.
Vice Chair Dorman,
Yes.
Chair Dunbar.
Yes. Next up,
Thank you.
approval of the minutes for the meeting held January 21st. If there's no discussion, is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
So
I
moved.
move.
I
second.
believe that was Member Mueller with the motion, seconded by Member Durham. Michelle?
Thank you. Member Moeller,
Yes.
Member Durham,
Yes.
Member Dornbecker,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dorman,
Yes.
Chair Dunbar.
Yes.
Thank you.
Town Clerk, have we received any public comments for the Finance Authority?
We have not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we don't have any consent calendar items. One item, administrative item, item 8A, consider adoption of resolution number 20-07, approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain lease financing documents in connection with the refunding of the outstanding Yountville Finance Authority lease revenue bonds, series 2013, and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto.
Steve, would you like me to bring the guests in now?
That would be great. But I will go ahead and start with the staff report. As the council, or excuse me, the Finance Authority Chair and members note, we are looking to refund the current bond and have a private placement. The initial lease revenue bonds were issued in February 2013 to cover the seismic retrofit and the Yount Street project. At this point in time, we have on a regular basis worked with Columbia Capital representatives who are the town's financial advisors, and we periodically evaluate market and opportunities. So we had been looking at whether it might make sense to refinance this particular measure. I'll also note, we're about 7 years into our 14-year payment stream, and we are at the point where, we were thinking about whether it would pencil out. So we had started this process in early February, and at that point in time, we're principally looking at about 60,000. And so the good news, bad news is we were in the middle of all of this when the current COVID-19 climate, which has reduced the interest in participation. And it's also really going to be changing the market going forward for many communities that are dependent on TOT and sales tax when it comes to other financing options. Right now, we're anticipating that the net savings, including all of the transaction costs, once concluded, will bring forward about 46,000, I think is the most recent. So really what we have before you is comparable to a lot of people looking at refinancing their home mortgage. So there are fixed costs to the transaction. Due to the fact that it's a smaller transaction, the fixed costs are still the fixed costs, but the net savings are about 46,000. We had, like I say, anticipated 60 at one point. So really at this point, the opportunity is for us to move forward, execute this. I will point out it is a private placement, and it's actually a private placement with a regionally local bank. West America has been the successful bidder. And the net reality is we save $46,000 for our ratepayers and taxpayers over the balance of the 7 years. Jeff White, principal with Columbia Capital, and Brian Quint, bond counsel with Quinton Thimming, are available if you have any questions, especially on the more technical aspects of the transaction.
Thank you. And I'll invite, if any of the Finance Authority members have a question, remember we are using the hand raising feature in Zoom. If you could use your blue hand and I will call on you. If not, we will proceed. So are there any questions of Steve's initial presentation, Vice Mayor? Or let's go with Vice Chair Dorman.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I think, well, my questions are for the guests if they're on, Mr. White and Mr. Quint.
They are. Let's stick first
Okay.
with any questions about the context in which Steve has
No.
placed this item.
Thank you. No, sorry.
Okay, with that, then I'll go ahead. Maybe we'll just start with questions of our guests, and then they can answer those unless either of them would like to make an initial presentation. I'm seeing heads shaking no. So go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you. So I understand that we have certain fixed costs, and I have reviewed those with the town manager, and I think they total $55,000, which it doesn't make any difference to the savings we have. We will still save $45,000. And by way of some background, I did pay many mortgages being bond counsel, so I do understand that people have to make money on their end of the deal. But given these circumstances, I'm just wondering, could we at least split it 50-50 so that out of the 100,000, we get 50 and you get 50? Just asking.
And just a reminder, if either of our guests would like to go ahead and respond. Mr. White, I see you just unmuted. If you'd like to go first.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, Jeff White with Columbia Capital. Very nice to see you all, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Madam Vice Chair, we, all of the professionals on the transaction actually already reduced their fees in order to keep the savings where they are. We'll try and squeeze out every bit that we can. We always leave a little bit of miscellaneous costs, but even that's down to a few $100s here. So I appreciate the question, and just wanted you to know that that we've already skinnied things down quite a bit in order to allow this to go forward.
And I do appreciate your candor in the answer. I did not understand that you guys had already worked with us, so thank you very much for that. Like I say, I get the whole idea of fixed costs, but just had to do the ask. So thank you so much for your work on this.
You have to pay for Brian's beautiful view in his background there.
I see that.
I wish that actually was my background out of my house, but it isn't.
Yeah,
And that's all I had.
Thank you. Mr. White, we thought we'd start with a simple question and then proceed from there with any others. Any other members of the Finance Authority have any questions of our guests? Was there anything else that either Mr. Quint or Mr. White you'd like to share with us? Mr. White?
Mr. Chair, just one quick note that because, as Steve mentioned, because of the short term remaining on these bonds, because of the low interest rate that's already there, we're squeezing out as much savings as we possibly can. We talked a little bit about potentially waiting to see if we might be able to get the savings back up, but you could end up waiting long enough that you'd end up in exactly the same spot. So I don't have any really good reasons for you not to execute this action at this point. All things equal, your savings actually decline every day that you don't execute.
Thank you. And that was based on Steve's analysis of we've already lost $15,000 in savings just in the matter of the time that the process has been happening. So thank you for that recommendation. Any other comments from our Finance Authority members? Or Steve, you had something else?
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody, you will have a companion item on the council agenda. And my hope would be that if you don't have any questions, that we can let our guests go and, you know, we can basically say this was addressed. I'll do a brief overview of the similarities, but I just wanted to point out that that way they didn't need to hang around for the second part of the meeting.
Yes, I agree. And thank you. And Steve, if you would just present the point that Mr. White made about the efforts to get the cost as low as they can and the benefit as high as it's available. So I think you could handle that on their behalf. With that, I would entertain a motion by one of our Finance Authority members.
I raise my hand. I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve resolution number 20-07, resolution of the Yountville Finance Authority approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain lease financing documents in connection with the refunding of the outstanding Yountville Financing Authority lease revenue bonds, Series 2013, and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto.
Second.
I took a member Moeller motion, a second by Vice Chair. And just before I take this vote, Michelle, for the record, we received no public comment on this item, correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
Thank you. So with that, please roll call vote of the members.
Member Moeller,
Yes.
Member Dorman,
Yes.
Member Dornbecker, Member Dornbecker,
Yes.
Member Durham, Member Durham,
Can't hear you, Jeff.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Member Dunbar.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Mr. White, Mr. Quint, thank you very much for all the work you've done to get us to this point. Enjoy the foggy San Francisco skyline, Mr. Quint, and enjoy the beautiful home setup that you've got, Mr. White.
Thank you all. Great to see you. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll move quickly through our last items, staff informational reports. I don't believe we have any. Commissioner comments or reports. I don't believe we have any. So I'll move for a motion to adjourn from the Yountville Finance Authority. And the
I
Vice
move.
Chair has- I'm sorry, I heard Member Dornbecker with the motion.
I
believe
move
it's-
that we adjourn.
Thank you. Member Moeller, was that a second?
It was.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Member Dornbecker,
Yes.
Member Moeller,
Yes.
Member Durham,
Yes.
Member Dorman,
Yes.
Mayor Dunbar.
Chairman Dunbar says yes.
Thank you. Chairman Dunbar, I'm
Yes.
receiving a text saying our meeting may not be streaming, so I'm going to minimize my screen and check on that.
So if you would, we're going to adjourn this meeting because it's already over.
Okay.
And we needed to take a quick break to end this recording and go on to the next one. So we will allow you to double check on the streaming, but we'll adjourn the Yountville Finance Authority. And in just a few moments, we will reconvene as the Yountville Town Council.
Okay, great. Thank you.